Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Mason African Motives, still working on mathematics N2. So in this platform actually we shall have a continuation on graphs, which was our 50th class when we were working on the straight line graphs. So in this case we shall be actually working on the parabola, which is one of the important graphs that you are supposed to know in your syllabus. This one is very important. You need to know the properties of a parabola and how do you actually sketch or draw a parabola. So guys, if you're new to my channel, you can consider being part of the family by subscribing so that you don't miss any of the classes that you shall be having from Mason African Motives. So quickly rushing through the topic that we shall be actually working on, which is a subtopic, actually the parabola from the main topic, which is on graphs. So what we need, just like the previous part that we had, we need at least to know the properties, which is the standard form again, or the general form. So we got the standard form of a parabola. How do you see that this is a parabola? What is going to be the format of that parabola? Okay, so actually here we are talking of a graph which is represented in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. So actually this type of a graph is going to be having the highest exponent is 2. So that is what is important here. The highest power or exponent is 2. That is what is important for this typical graph of a parabola. Actually a parabola, guys, is actually a quadratic graph. When you are referring to a parabola, you are referring to a quadratic graph. That's a quadratic graph. All right, so we shall talk about the properties of what we can obtain from this expression of the parabola that you are supposed to know from this part. But actually for the meantime, what you need to understand is that what is going to be, how are we going to end up with a function of this parabola or graph? Okay, this is what it can look like. Actually a parabola, it looks like this. All right, where we've got let's just say this is A and this is B and this is C, and we've got a point D there. So this point A, B, they are representing actually this is f for the function, okay, just y is equal to whatever equation that you're given. Okay, so as we can see, this A and B, they are the intercepts, which is the x-intercepts actually, and C the y-intercept, and for the turning point. So how you end up with this graph now is the one that is important. How are you going to end up with a shape, which can be a shape like this? How do you end up with a shape like this or with a shape like this is what is important. Okay, so what determines the shape? So what determines the shape of this graph is the A here. This value of A, it is the one that determines the shape of the graph that you're going to have at the end. How does it determine this? All right, on a condition that A is greater than 0, like this one, where A is a positive value, we are going to have a shape like this. When it is a positive, so it's going to be from positive goes to negative, then maintains positive, then negative to negative again. So this one is when A is less than 0, which is what? Which is a negative. Your shape is going to be like this, or it's going to be a sad shape, as you can see. And positive always, guys, that a smiley shape. This one, that's a smiley one. Is it L there or is just Y? Then this one, it's a sad one, guys, as you can see. That's a negative, sad, positive, smiling, like that. So that's how you can actually memorize that. Okay, then also on this graph there is some property that you need to know, which is x-intercepts. So as we saw that we've got the x-intercepts there, so it's the same thing. to find x-intercepts, we use the same thing just like the previous part, that in the x-intercept y is equal to 0. So to find the values of x, y is equal to 0. Okay, so here we are going to substitute y is equal to 0 to find the x-intercepts. And for the y-intercept is just 1 point. For the y-intercept, you know that x is equal to 0. That is direct, this one. All right, so if it is the y-intercept, x is equal to 0. So you're going to find the value of y when x is equal to 0, like that. Okay, then we saw another part here that is going to happen. This graph like this is going to be, there is going to be a turning point, just like what we saw here. This time there's a turning point here, and at this turning point there is a line which actually divides this graph into two equal parts like this. If we are to draw something like this, this line is going to divide this graph in two equal parts, and it is referred to as the axis of symmetry, which divides the graph into two equal parts. That's the axis of symmetry. Okay, so how do you find this equation of axis of symmetry? Okay, so we've got the equation of axis of symmetry. So this one is an equation, all right? It's going to be an equation. So the equation can be determined from the equation of y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. This is where you're going to obtain the equation of x of symmetry. How do you obtain it? It's x is equal to, this is the equation, guys, minus b over 2a, like this. So that is the equation for the axis of symmetry. That is, x is equal to minus b over 2a. So as you can note that it's actually a matter of substituting there. You are just substituting from the formula that you have, or from the equation that you are given there. Okay, so by substituting, I'm going to show you, working with examples, how you substitute this part. Okay, then the last thing, we have got the turning point. You've got the turning point. So using this information, you can actually sketch a graph using all this information: the x-intercept, the y-intercept, the equation of x of symmetry. This one is not important for sketching, but this one, the turning point. Okay, so how do you determine the turning point? The turning point, the value of x at the turning point is minus b over 2a. That's the value of x at the turning point, which is at the x of symmetry. Then you determine the value of y. So if x is minus b over 2a, your y is going to be f of minus b over 2a, like this. So I'm going to explain this, what it means, in a simpler way, because you've got the value of x, so you're just going to substitute the value of x to obtain the value of what? To obtain the value of y there. So why am I talking about this information? This is the information, guys, that you're going to use in order for you to draw this graph according to your syllabus. That's what actually they need you to do, because they're going to ask you about the x-intercept, the y-intercept. Then at the end, they'll ask you now to sketch the graph or to draw the graph. So you actually need this information so that you'll be able to draw or to sketch the graph any that you'll be given. All right, so we just want to see from one or two of the graphs so that we can actually move together here. All right, so I have got some graphs here that I want you to see how they ask these questions. As you can see, they determine the turning point of determine the roots. So the roots, those ones which are referred to as the roots, these are the x-intercepts, okay, or they are called the zeros. Okay, so that's how they ask these questions. So we shall just see just one question which we are going to use and as an example to draw or to sketch this graph, then we can actually move on to another part. Okay, so we are going to sketch this graph of, I want us to use this one together. We are going to draw or to sketch the graph of y is equal to, that's x squared minus 6x plus 8. This is the graph that we want to sketch or to draw. So then after that, guys, we'll be able to answer questions from past exam papers. Okay, so this is the concept. You need to find the x-intercepts, the y-intercept, and the turning point. These are the important things that you actually need. Okay, so we said the x-intercepts is on a condition where y is equal to 0. So we have to find the values of x when y is equal to, which means we're just going to say y is equal to 0, so we're going to remain with 0 is equal to. So instead of writing as 0 is equal to, you can just start with this side. So it's x squared minus 6x plus 8 is equal to 0, like this. Okay, so you solve for x either by using the quadratic formula. It's fine when you are used to quadratic formula, or you can just apply factorization. Remember, from your factorization, guys, I told you that when the coefficient of x squared like this is a 1, you're going to have two brackets, then you indicate your x here and your x here. So you're going to find the factors of 8. Which are the factors of 8? Two numbers that you multiply to obtain 8, but when you add, you must obtain -6. So which two numbers are we talking about? Okay, let's try these two numbers, -4 and -2. Okay, if you multiply this, you're going to obtain +8. If you add these two numbers, you're going to obtain -6. So these are the two numbers that we need. When you multiply, you obtain +8. When you add, you obtain -6. So it's -4, -2. These are the numbers that you're obtaining. So it's either x is equal to 4, or from this one to the other side, or x is equal to 2. So these are the two possible values, which are the intercepts, where x is equal to 2 and another one is 4. So you can just write this as a point. Remember, these are the intercepts. You can just write 4, 0, because the value of x, and another one is 2, 0. Remember, it's a point, guys, and I told you from the previous class that a point, when you are indicating a point, you represent a point in terms of x followed by y, like this. That's how you write your point. All right, so you've got the y-intercepts, then the x-intercepts, so you need to find the y-intercept. So for the y-intercepts, x is equal to 0, we know that. So we are going to have y is equal to, this time you substitute in place of x, so that's 0 squared minus 6 times 0 plus 8. All right, so from your calculator, you are going to obtain a +8 if you simplify this properly. Okay, so that's the y-intercept on a condition where x is equal to 0, y is equal to 8. So these are the part that they ask you according to your syllabus. Okay, you're supposed to actually use a table of values, but that is not the idea there. These are the questions that they'll ask you, so that's why I need you to know this part, okay, that we are doing now right now. So you have your x-intercept, you've got your y-intercept. Now you need to determine the turning point, which is the turning point. All right, so we now need to find the turning point, and we said for us to find the turning point, at any turning point at that moment, x is equal to -b over 2a. This is what you need to know, guys. At any turning point, x is equal to -b over 2a, which means we can find the value of x, then we find the value of y by substituting into this equation here. So okay, let's take this and see what is our a and what is our b. They were given that y is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 8. Remember the format, guys, of a quadratic equation is y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So your a in this case is the one that is affecting x squared, which is a 1. So here there's a 1 here. B is this number which is affecting x, which is minus 6. So your b is minus 6, your c is 8. So in this case we need b and a. So x is going to be minus, which is of the formula. Then what is the value of b? The value of b in this case is minus 6. So it's going to be minus 6 like this over 2a. What is the value of a? The value of a in this case is 1. So it's 2 times 1 like this. So from your calculator, this is going to give you a 3. So that's what you're going to obtain when x is equivalent to 3. So you've got the value of x. So to find the value of y, you can simply substitute now into this format here. Because you have the value of x, you have got it. So you need the value of y because it's a point. A point is supposed to have x and y like this. All right. So you're going to have, in place of x, substitute 3. So that's 3 squared minus 6 times 3 in place of x plus 8. All right. So this is what you are going to have at the end. So there you have to substitute properly, but you're going to obtain something like -1. So y is -1. So therefore our turning point in this case, remember a point is written in terms of x and y. So x is 3 and y is -1. So that's our turning point there. All right. So we now have all the information that we need from the x-intercept, the y-intercept, and also the turning points. Now we need to sketch the graph. Okay, so I'm just going to start with a sketch, then to show you how you do it on the graph also. So this is how you're going to draw. If it is a sketch, guys, then I'm going to show you also how you represent it in a graph, not on a sketch, but also in a graph, because they are going to ask you to represent this in a graph, guys. So you need to know this, that you're supposed to use this in a graph, that is in your graph. On your graph paper, they'll give you a part with a graph paper that you're going to use. So this is what you're going to do. This is your Cartesian plane. You've got x, you've got y like this. Okay, so you're just going to name your points. Let's just say that's 0 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, -1, -2, -3. Remember this part, we talked about it when we're dealing with a straight line. Okay, so this is also -1, -2, -3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, you're going to reach 8 there. Okay, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because we need 8, guys. Remember that, 9, something like that. All right, I hope you just write in a proper way, guys, but I hope you understand what I'm saying. So this is the 8 that we need there. Okay, so you're going to mark your points. Let's mark our points, guys. First we have our x-intercepts, which is at 4 and 2 in the x-axis. So you're going to mark x-intercept. It's a point which lies in the x-axis. So in the x-axis, x is equal to 4 and another one is 2. Okay, so x is equal to 4 here, you mark a point. X is equal to 2 here, you mark a point. Okay, you have the y-intercept. This is your y-intercept, which is at y is equal to 8. So you're going to mark a point. Y is equal to 8 here. You just mark a point there. That's y is equal to 8. In the y-axis, that's where we have a y-intercept. Okay. Another thing that we have is the turning point. 3 minus 1. X is 3. Y is minus 1. So how do you mark this point? 3 minus 1. X is 3. Y is minus 1. So you join 3 for x and minus 1 for y. Where these two join at a point, that's where you're going to join them when they meet. So it's 3 and minus 1. Where they meet, you join a point there. So that's 3 minus 1. So this one, I'm just going to write it 3 minus 1. This is our turning point. These ones, they are clear because they are on the exact number. So that's why I didn't write them, but this one I have to write it. Okay, what we are left with, guys, is the shape. Okay, remember we said the value of a determines the shape here. So what is the value of a? We are given this as 1x squared. So this a, it's a positive, and we said because 1 is a positive. If it was minus, then that's a negative, but this one is a positive. So if a is equal to 1, which is a positive like this, it means our graph is going to look like this. It's going to be a smiley one, okay? So our graph, just like what we did here, guys, if you still remember, that's what we said. A determines the shape. If it is a positive, it is going to look like this. If it is a negative, it's going to look like this, okay? So this one is a positive, so which means our graph is going, we are just going to join from this point to this point just to form that graph. So it's going to be like this, guys. Okay, so don't freak out, guys. There's nothing much. Just join these points, okay, to this point. That's a turning point, so you must show this a turning point. Then it goes back because it's a turning point where it turns. So definitely it has to go back. All right, it goes back. It goes back. Okay, it goes back. Yeah, something like that. So that's how this graph is going to look like. So you can just write the equation y is equal to x squared minus 6x plus 8. So that's a sketch. So this is what you're going to represent exactly as this in your graph paper. How now are you going to do this? Definitely they will give you a graph paper that you're going to use this, and I must have something that we can just show each other how it looks like. So this is the graph paper that I'm talking about here, which has got smaller lines like this, okay? So what you need is to just mark your points in a visible manner. Then you can draw this graph. So that is what is important, guys. That is what is important. Nothing much there. There is nothing much, okay? So I'm just gonna do this here. I want you to see, so you just divide in a way that you can draw something nicer there. All right, so this is what you're going to do. All right, so you just make sure that this graph, guys, is clear, you see? Okay, something like that. All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to put it this way. All right, so just because I have smaller values in x, I'm just gonna put this as a 0 here at the center. That's my 0 here. So this is my x-axis, you know, and that's my y-axis here. So you just put according to a suitable scale. So you can choose for x to use 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. Okay, so you can choose this to be 1, this one to be 2, this one to be 3, and this one to be 4. All right, and if you choose this, it's going to be possible 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are not going to meet, so you're going to choose even 2 here. You can just choose in between the box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just 5 boxes there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to represent -1. So this is going to be -1 for 5 boxes, -2, and something like that. So which means each and every boxes you're going to represent with 2. So this one is going to be 4, this one is going to be 6, this one is going to be 8. So in between you've got 1, in between 3, 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, something like that. Okay, but here in this axis, because I have few values, I'm just going to use each box to represent -1. So it depends with the scale that you want to use. Okay, then you mark those points just like what we did, guys. Just like what we did. Okay, so you just need to mark your points. The x-intercepts at 2 and 4. You mark your points at 2 and 4. Oh, guys, this is going to be out of the graph. Are you seeing that? So let's just use 2, 4. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, -2, -4, -6, which because this one is going to be out. So in between, that's where we have 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is our 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our 3. All right. So this is your 2, you mark at 2 here, and this is your 4, you mark at 4 here. Okay, then remember our turning point, it was 3 minus 1. So 3 and minus 1, where these two meet here, they meet at this point, 3 and minus 1. You mark a point here, that's 3 minus 1, something like this. Okay, then another one is this one for 8 here, you mark it. So that's how you just do even in your graph paper. Okay, so what you just need is to now draw a smooth curve. Now is in the graph, guys. I don't know if I'm going to put it in a smoother way, but this is what you're supposed to do, guys. You're supposed to put it in a smoother way. This one is not smooth, guys. So it's going to be something like this. Okay, at 2 there, to the turning point, it goes back to 4 there, and something like that. All right, so it's gonna be something like this. So that's what you're going to have, guys, as your graph there. So you've got 2, you've got 4 here, and this is your turning point, which is 3 minus 1. So what they're gonna do is to ask you a lot of questions from this graph. They are going to ask some questions, but how to end up with a graph like this. That's it, guys. That's how you sketch these graphs. So we are going to meet again now, working with question papers, how they ask these questions, because from question papers they'll ask you to find the same things that we determined here. So anything that has to do with this information, that's how you determine them. They'll ask you this, then after that they'll ask you to sketch the graph, then after they'll ask you to answer at least a few questions using your graph. So you are also supposed to know and to interpret the graph that you'll be given, because they are going to ask you to find some values from that graph that you'll be having. So we shall see how do we answer such typical questions. But that's it, guys, for the meantime, for this part of our graphs, working on the parabola from African motifs, till we meet again.